It has been confirmed. Borderlands 3 is going to be an Epic Games Store exclusive. Combine this with studio head Randy Pitchford being a rather dramatic man, and a slew of other oddities with the game's premium edition, and we have the story of how something that should have been an easy win has turned into something altogether quite a bit more mixed. Hello and welcome back to another industry report. Yes, we're finally over the brunt of the Anthem stuff, which of course went up tomorrow and the day before, and be sure to sub and look out for the Dragon Age 4 video that's going to be coming your way this evening. But as for Borderlands 3, well, it seems to be a traditional game. It's a big world, and it's a campaign, it can be played in co-op, but it's not something that seems to be designed as a 10-year live service plan, very much unlike Destiny and Anthem. This is understandably something that has had many people excited, seeing this game as the mechanics that they want, but free from the extraneous gumph that has bloated a lot of modern shooters. This set up Borderlands 3 to be an easy win with its audience, but that certainly is not what has panned out. Rumors emerged about the Epic Games Store, then tweets went up with an Epic Games logo. Then a slew of retailer leaks spoiled much more, leading to Gearbox releasing a press release that is going to lay out essentially what's going to happen. So yes, this is an Epic Games Store exclusive. We also have an edition of the game that has a timed price increase plus an experience boost. All of these things tie into important business trends of the modern era that should be discussed. Exclusivity first. So it has been confirmed that Borderlands 3 will be a timed exclusive on the Epic Games Store, this time only being for 6 months, down from the usual 12. This still has led to the widespread anger that I think we would expect as gaming audiences continue to protest Epic's aggressive exclusivity deal-driven business practices. Once more, we have seen Epic snap up a fan-favorite game for exclusivity, likely knowing that a very high percentage of people who don't really like the Epic Store will still cave and purchase the game. Just like with Phoenix Point, the various indies that they've signed, and Metro Exodus, Borderlands is a game with a fairly dedicated fanbase. It's one that has not been served by the direction that modern loot shooters have went in since Borderlands 1 and I suppose 2 sort of popularized the genre. Now, the only place to get a BS-free loot shooter in the eyes of many people is the Epic Games Store. And that is highly annoying for people who want to play that game and don't want another launcher, but it is likely a smart strategic move from Epic, who know that once somebody has been broken down enough in terms of mental resistance to be on their platform, they will likely be less resistant to future releases. Indeed, I do suspect that this would especially be the case if a user was signed up to both stores with both launchers installed, but maybe found that Epic was a little bit cheaper than Steam because of the lower cut. At least that seems to be what their plan is. Now, moving to a 6-month timed exclusive is actually quite interesting. It's something that we have not seen before. This could indicate Epic easing up a little bit in the aggression of their plan. It is hard to know. Of course, they could have originally negotiated a 1-year period that would be in line with what we've seen before, only to reduce that in light of the consumer backlash. It is all the more interesting, though, because many people love Borderlands, but a lot of those same people don't love the head of Gearbox, Randy Pitchford. Let's be real, Randy can make a right fool of himself sometimes. We then have the ongoing legal situation, one which involves very serious allegations against Randy personally, although both sides of that case need to be taken with a large grain of salt because they are very much character assassinations. Randy performed, of course, his strange routine about Jim Sterling, pretending that he did not know who Jim was, which was a very strange thing. His defense of aliens, colonial marines, of course, won him no friends. And then there's the Duke Nukem situation. He defended that game when really it was a bit indefensible. Combine this with Randy being a fairly out-there personality, really taking on a public-facing role in his company, and you have this very strange situation where avid consumers of a game don't really like the man who is leading that game studio. Randy pretty much has been pro-Epic from the beginning. Now, in the very beginning, I think that was fair, because that's back when the Epic Games Store was just a better revenue split. There was no talk of exclusivity, and at that time, I thought the Epic Store was pretty much a great idea. It was strong competition for Steam, hopefully forcing Valve to be more competitive with their cut. So I don't think it was unreasonable for Randy to be okay with the Epic Games Store at the start. Things, though, got a bit more tricky when he started defending the multiple storefront sort of exclusivity thing in PC. He said, it's all PC, who cares? He went on to basically talk about him not really understanding the mindset and trying to understand, and that he's a PC gamer on multiple platforms and it's not a problem for him. And yeah, it was, I'd say, a sort of tacit defense of the exclusivity-driven business model. Of course, people don't like the exclusivity. While I think some people are angry about the inconvenience and don't like that, I think for most people it is a rather principled protest against exclusivity. Of course, Randy will have tweeted all of this stuff knowing the Borderlands 3 situation, so it is no surprise that, it ended up being an Epic exclusive. Randy did tweet that the decision was in the hands of the publisher and that pretty much they're just the nerds who build the games, but I'm not sure how much I would believe that given how he is the studio head of Gearbox, like he's the co-founder. Financially, you can see the sense in it, doubly so because it's an Unreal 4 engine title. Epic Games actually waive the engine licensing fee for sales on their store, meaning that on top of them only taking a 12% cut, Gearbox and 2K flat out just get another 5% cash that they otherwise wouldn't because the licensing fee for their engine is waived. And I mean, Epic exclusivity is a far cheaper way to save on your engine's licensing fee than, switching your entire studio over to Frostbite, contributing to the failure, sort of two BioWare games, the near failure of one, and the failure of Ragtag, and who knows what else. As for me, well look, I personally don't mind having multiple platforms that much, but I can't blame anyone for not liking it. I launch most of my games using Wox or Windows Search anyway, but that said, I am going to check out Playnite. It bills itself as being one launcher to rule them all, collating all of your games into one place, so I am going to experiment with that, and if it ends up being good, I may make a video on it. Next up, the edition pricing. This is something that's also tied into the final topic of today's video, which is the potential of the paid XP and loot boost. So, Borderlands 3 is going to launch with multiple editions. The Deluxe Edition costs $80, and it's mostly what you would expect, containing skins, but it also has an XP and drop boost mod be included. And that does seem pretty wild, but more on that later. Next, we've got the Super Deluxe Edition. This has a list price of $100, but it's going to increase in price to $120 after launch. Then finally, there's the $250 Physical Edition, but that's not relevant for today. So this timed price increase is also on the edition that includes the Season Pass, which itself will have 4 campaign DLC packs, plus a weapon skin, trinket, and grenade mod. Now look, sales is often about the exertion of influence on people. At its most basic, it's just saying, hey, here's a thing, it costs this much, you can buy it if you like it. Well, by having the Super Deluxe Edition cost $100 and then increase to $120 on launch day, that's interesting. It adds fear of missing out, FOMO, something that will really tip many people over the edge to making a purchase decision. In this case, especially because it could make the consumer feel like they're making a rational decision because of the price difference. For some, it certainly will be a rational decision. They probably will get the DLCs anyway, but for many, it wouldn't be. Our judgment of value is open to manipulation. This $100 version is still $40 more than the base edition, and $40 is not a great deal for a season pass. In fact, that's very standard. $60 for a season pass with the price increase? That's a little wild. So it'll be very interesting to see how the standalone season pass is priced after release. Personally, I think what they're doing here is pretty darn clear. They're going extremely hard on upfront sales to get people bought into a year of the game. Why do this? Well, sure, releasing your game and then releasing DLC 1 and 2 is fine, but by the time DLC 3 and 4 come out, people will have dropped off. You'll almost certainly make more money by securing those sales up front. Additionally, the deluxe version doesn't really seem to contain much value, it's just skins really. The $100 Super Deluxe Edition is the one with the Season Pass. Now, the Season Pass really is the only thing of value there, and it still is $40 more than the base edition. So as you can see, this is a very smart way to sell Season Passes on day one. By doing this, they're able to leverage more avenues of manipulation than just selling the standard $60 game and then the Season Pass on top of that as an additional purchase. So overall, it does prime people to think that the Season Pass is only $20 more than the Deluxe Edition, and is therefore a great deal, even though the Deluxe Edition is pretty much just worthless skins. So combine this with the timed price increase and the inclusion of the experience and loot boost, and you do have something that I think will be extremely effective in upselling the game, essentially elevating the perceived value and the average sale price above what it really should be. Now, the increasing of average sale price, also shortened to ASP in sort of business terms, is a far wider topic. Gaming is really doing what Apple are doing. They're trying to increase ASP as far as they can, knowing that perhaps the Western market is maybe growing slower in terms of new users or something like that, and then they're going to try to double down on revenue per user, mostly through subscription services, which is literally the Apple business plan. But okay, let's talk about the XP situation. So the deluxe and above editions come with a loot boosting mod and an experience boosting mod. Now, something similar happened with Borderlands 2, and it was focused around team play, and we don't know exactly how these mechanics are going to play out, so I do think it's a little bit early to raise the pitchforks here. That said, it does somewhat play into a worrying trend. Just look at Assassin's Creed Odyssey. That is a game that literally sells a balance patch to you. The full-priced version of that game on launch was a slow, grindy mess until you paid more for an experience boost that magically left the game feeling somewhat well-balanced. It was a travesty of design. Will Borderlands 3 continue this trend? It's hard to know right now. This could just be early access to mods that otherwise can be obtained in-game. If so, then it still does feel wrong to me, but it's not nearly as bad. However, if these are powerful deluxe edition only boosts, then I think that quite obviously would be a large problem, especially given the deep integration of loot into the design of this game, even though that certainly is something that will be a powerful upsell on these regardless. So to draw this report to a close, I think it's unfortunate that a few decisions made by Gearbox and 2K have led to what should have been purely a good thing instead being rather mixed. People are ready to love this game, and indeed, regardless of these stories, I think it probably will be a great game. I think many people will love it. It's just kind of sad to see the needless drama. Some of that could be levied at the likes of me for making content like this video that's highlighting these topics, these negative things, and I think that's a fair criticism of what I'm doing. However, I would say that I think it's important to call out moves like the timed price increase and the experience and loot boost. I think it's important to call that out for consumers because I think those are practices that should not be rewarded. And the same goes for talking about the Epic Store. I do not like exclusivity, but given how I'm running a studio, I have talked to publishers before, and I'm in a bit of a novel position with the games industry news side of things. I think that, I have a slightly different perspective on that, and therefore it is really something that I should do, is to share what makes my perspective different. That's the only value that, I can really provide that's unique when it comes to a video like this. So hopefully it's all there to just help foster a more informed user base, or consumer base, I guess, where we're all thinking more about these decisions and just being a little bit more cautious of what some of the companies are doing. Because if you look at gaming over the last 10 years, let's be real, a lot of things have not moved in a direction that I think core gamers, myself included, are particularly happy with. So yeah, there you go. Let me know what you think about all these things. If you use the Play Night launcher, actually, let me know how that goes. I'd be really keen to see what everyone thinks about that. And yeah, with that, stay tuned to the channel though, because in about 2 hours, we will have a big juicy video on Dragon Age 4. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.